One thing I really want to start getting into is girl chats. And my stomach is kind of hurting right now because I was not eating well yesterday. But so if the energy feels a little low, it's just because of that. But just imagine that we sitting in a room together, girl, chitting and chatting, and you talking to your big sis who's not older than you, just bigger than you. And you know, I'm sharing what I know in hopes that you know the same, and if you don't know, putting you onto it. Because what I will say is that growing up, I was always in search of some answers. I wanted some guidance, some help, and I trusted myself enough to make decisions. But because I didn't know, you know what I'm saying, there were times where I made decisions that weren't the best, and it's simply because I didn't know and didn't feel comfortable asking the people who were in my life, who were older and who may have experienced more than me at the time, aka like asking my mother or my aunties or something like that. Like, you know, when it comes to sex, those are conversations that you have to feel comfortable with the person you're talking to about it, otherwise it ain't gonna happen. And so yeah, I didn't grow up in a house where we were talking about sex. The conversation surrounding sex was just, you're not having it till you're married, which honestly I think is such a horrible way to communicate with your kids about sex, because at the end of the day, especially if as a parent you did not do the same thing, it's hard to tell your kids to do something that you yourself didn't do. Not to mention, as times change, you know, the politics around sex and how we have it and how we have relationships, they're different, and the culture has shifted. And so there isn't this thing of like you have to be married to have a family, or you have to be, you know, in a relationship to have sex. Like, it's just not, that's not where we are anymore. And so, you know, it's an unrealistic, what's the word I'm looking for? An unrealistic, don't you start, because what the hell, whatever, it's just an unrealistic, you know, pedestal to put your kid on, to tell them not to have sex before marriage. You can hope that they make the best decisions, but I think, you know, I don't know if I want kids, but if I have children, I want to talk to them, you know, in a way that's realistic and honest and helpful. It's not helpful to tell someone not to do something. That's not how that works, especially after you like are a teenager and now you have your own thoughts, and you know, you're talking to friends and you're curious. You know, we're all sexual beings, and as much as our parents want to keep that out of their head and they don't want to think about that, the fact is, at some stage in the game, you know, like a child is going to start being curious about their sexuality, and they're going to explore in that area. And you're not helping by not sharing, you know, how to navigate in that world. The helpful thing to do is to tell them how to navigate, as opposed to stay out of it, because that's not gonna work. Okay, so let's get down to what the video is actually about, girl, because yeah, this video is about casual sex and how I figured out that that life wasn't for me. I'll start by saying this, and I shared this before in my relationships video where I was telling y'all about old relationships I've had. I was a relationships girl, but when I say that, you should also know that I also like didn't really get into a real relationship until I was in my 20s. But I thought I was a relationships girl. Like, you know, I always was talking to somebody. I always was having that moment with somebody where it was like, you know, this is about to be my man, blah, 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 right? Very rarely was that the case, but that's what I thought was going on. You know what I mean? And so, let me reference my notes so we ain't all over the place. Let's back it up. So, you're not a casual sex girl. You and me, we might be right here with it. We might be the same type of thing, okay? So let me preface this video by saying that there's absolutely nothing wrong with having casual sex if you have consented to it and that's what you want to do, period. This is not to talk down on the act of casual sex. This is just more of a realization video of like, okay, yeah, it's not for me and I'm not alone. Because listen, I think sometimes we get swept up in trying to keep up with what other folks is doing, and even if that's not the case, we just think that it's normal, and so we try to be that because we think that that's normal, and we don't think that we're normal because we don't want that, so we try to assimilate to what everybody else is doing, when in reality it's completely normal to want an emotional, complex, you know, relationship with someone before engaging in sex. There's nothing wrong with that. So here's how I figured out it wasn't for me, but me, okay? Point blank period, I always felt like shit afterwards. Now, let me be completely transparent and say that I really, when I'm talking about casual sex, for me, I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about a little fooling around. You know what I'm saying? A slap and tickle, if you will, okay? A nice heavy makeout session, what I like to call a roll around session. We're just enjoying each other's bodies, all right? When I would have these roll around sessions, right? Which, girl, it's not a lot while you all up in it, okay? But when I would have these roll around sessions, I realized like, yo, it didn't fulfill me completely. And you know why? Because after I do something like that, I'm expecting the man to be completely like entranced. And if he's not, then I'm questioning myself. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Am I a good kisser? Does he like me? What, you know, did I stink? Like, what's up? You know, I'm breaking myself down. And it's because I require aftercare after any type of shared intimacy. I require cuddling. I require communication. I require, you know, outwardly acts of affection. And if I don't get it, then I'm questioning what just happened, where we stand, and all those things. And I hate feeling like that. So we had an experience where, you know, after we had just a nice little makeout session, he was really cold afterwards, and I felt like he was doing that because he felt like he needed to do that in order to let me know that there wasn't going to be anything serious. There's a couple things wrong with this. Number one, boy, I don't want you. Number two, you don't have to act that way with me. Like, we could just kick it and be cool, and it could just be what it was. It's the need to act like an asshole that be making me feel like shit, because it's like, I don't deserve to be treated that way. And I'll be honest, when it happened, I thought about a lot of women who deal with self-confidence issues, which I myself, you know, I consider myself a very confident woman. And so in that moment, I wasn't feeling so confident. I was really questioning myself, questioning who I was. And I started thinking about other women who may feel that way. And I recognized that shit can really break a woman down. Because when you have that moment with the man, which, be honest, the things that happen before you actually decide to roll around with a man, fool around, make out and all that, he's on your phone, he's flirting with you, he's showing you attention, he's doing all the things. When that gets turned off right after you do something, you feel like, well, goddamn, you feel like you just had the rug pulled from up under you. Now you sitting on your ass with a bruise. And it's a shock factor. And you know, that shit will fuck with your confidence if, you know, you have to constantly question why a person is treating you a certain type of way after you engage in, you know, an intimate experience. And that has not happened to me often enough where it's normalized. So when it happens, I'm like, hold up, what the fuck is going on? And who the hell are you? And why the fuck is you treating me like this? You know, I get to asking all these questions, and I wish I could say that I snap out of it easily, but I don't. It takes me a few days to, you know, shake that shit off, because I really, it makes me, it just, I don't like it. I don't like the feeling at all. So the thing about casual sex or casual relations is that there is no emotional responsibility there. when you engage in a casual, intimate experience, you are agreeing to a lack of emotional responsibility, meaning this person is not responsible for treating you kindly after the situation is done, after the deed is done. They're not responsible for, you know what I'm saying, giving you a nice cuddle afterwards. They're not responsible for hitting up your phone the next day. They're not responsible for your feelings, period. And if you are a person who requires that type of emotional connection and emotional support, then you are going to feel like shit after a casual sex situation or a casual, you know, whatever, fool around. And you have to know that about yourself before engaging in that shit, because listen, here's the thing. I'm in this phase in my life, right, where I've been single now for a few years, and I've talked to some guys here and there, some serious, some not. And what was the point that I was about to make? Oh yeah, I've been in this phase where I'm like, okay, let me see like what casual, you know, what that casual life is talking about. I've never had the balls enough to take it that far where I have sex, but you know, a little fool around here and there, right? And what I know deep down in my core is that I require more. I like to be friends with a person. I like to know them for a while. You know, there's a safety there when you know someone and you know that you're having a safe experience, because that's another aspect of it. I can't engage in sexual, you know, acts, whether it be full-on sex or a little something here or there, because I'm scared of all the stuff that comes with that if you don't know that the person is, you know, clean. You know, I'm in my head a lot. And so, but I'm also, I'm teeter-tottering on this thing of like, Kennedy, have a good time. You're single, you're young, you're fun, you're beautiful. It's always two sneezes. I'm always teeter-tottering on this thing of like wanting to challenge myself. Of like, all right, Kennedy, you don't, this is the time where you should be having a good time. Like, just see what's up. You don't have to be in a relationship to do this. Just do it. And the revelation that I've had recently is that I don't have to constantly challenge myself to be different than what I know I am. If I know that I require a deeper emotional relationship before I engage in something, then guess what? That's just what it is. And I can honor that part of myself by simply being honest with the person who I am talking to and letting them know that that's something that I require. And if they can't handle that, if they don't want to stick around for that, and if they can, cool. I think the battle is trying to hold on to these men. We don't want them to leave, and so we do things in hopes that that will keep them around, but it's not gonna keep them around, because that's not what they're signing up for, you know, unless you communicate, listen, I'm gonna do this in hopes that, you know, it'll bring us closer or whatever. Even if you communicate it, bitch, I don't know. I don't want this video to feel judgy or like, you know, women who do have a great time and can completely disconnect emotionally and have these moments. I don't want them to feel like this is me saying you shouldn't do that, because guess what? I know of plenty of women who are very openly sexual beings and have a great time out here in the world. And I think in my being so close, I have tried to challenge myself to be that and to like see like what that life is about and why I can't do it, and you know, just trying to keep up with the keep up. But long story short, it's just not me. I don't like how I feel afterwards. I don't like feeling like this person got away with something. You know, I don't like feeling like this man can walk down the street saying that he had this experience with me. Meanwhile, he's had to put in no work. He's earned none of it. You know, what I learned is that I value respect over these, you know, short moments of intimacy. These, you know, quick moments of affection. That shit is fleeting. It don't last forever. It's right there in the moment, but as soon as it's done, and then you have nothing. If that man is not willing to give you anything more, you're left with nothing. I want to feel respected. I want to feel like a man respects who I am and who he's dealing with. And unfortunately, when you're having casual sex, That's not the case. It's not the case. You know, so if you're gonna move forward with that, you gotta really know what you're signing up for, and you gotta really be ready to support yourself afterwards. You can't rely on the dude you dealing with to do it, because they don't. You know, I want to feel like the person cares about me. Like, I'm not asking for too much. That's just what I want, and I have always wanted it. And sometimes you have girls who have had women, men, people who have had casual relations, and they don't realize till years later that they also require that. They also require emotional connection, or they value that, rather. Not that they require it, but they value it. And it starts to become a priority over these casual experiences. Some people just got to get it out their system. And then once they get it out their system, then it's like, okay, now I'm ready to see what it's like to be in a relationship, to see what it's like to get to know someone for a little bit before having these moments. And that's important. Yeah, that's the thing I was saying about lacking. When there's a lack of emotional responsibility, once the deed is done, these people don't give a fuck about you. They out the door. They gone, girl. Yeah, folks go on about their life. They don't think twice about having to keep up with you. So, you know, don't think you're gonna do this and change a man. You're not about to change no man. Because guess what, girl? If he was so eager to do things with you, he probably do this all the time. Most times these guys do this all the time. And so you ain't about to change him because y'all had one little makeout sesh, or because y'all had sex. Like, sex for me means a lot. It doesn't mean a lot for everybody. And so I have to keep that in mind. And you have to keep that in mind, because if you decide to move forward in a casual sex situation, if he chooses to not hit you up the next day and communication falls off, you have to remember that that's what you signed up for. I want to normalize how I feel, because sometimes I feel like, oh my God, am I doing the most? But no, I think that it's completely normal to require affection, to require an emotional connection, what I like to call emotional aftercare after an intimate moment with someone. That's normal. And you know, I had to have a friend reaffirm that to me, because I was really beating myself up about feeling a certain type of way when, you know, I had this moment with someone and I just felt like, God, I just feel like they really treated me like some kind of throwaway, like a jump off. And again, we didn't have sex. I probably would have felt a lot worse, but even still, even with just making out, I'm still just like, how can you not fall in love with me after that? How? Me? And listen, I get it. When you're single, you want to flex that coochie cat. I totally get it. You want to walk outside, you want to stretch your shit. I totally get it. You're doing this for no one but yourself. It's not for other people. You're doing it for you. I get it, girl. You're craving intimacy, you're craving affection, and you're gonna go out there and get it. I feel you, sis. I'm there with you. I'm literally right there with you, shoulder to shoulder. Ow, that hurt. You want some attention from the opposite sex. I totally get it. Okay? And guess what? You're gonna go out there and get it. And this is not about me understanding, bitch. I overstand. Here is my solution to you getting what you want, i.e. affection, intimacy, you know, these moments, while also maintaining your peace and your fucking sanctity. Is it sanctity or sanity? Bitch, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. Here's my solution. Over fucking communicate. Before you engage in anything, let that man know what it is that you require. Even if he just has to put up a front, let him know, after this D, I need to be cuddled. I need to feel like you're not about to just jump out and walk out the door. I need the emotional aftercare. Maybe he asks how you're doing the next day. Maybe he checks up on you and sees how your day is. Tell him that you might, you know, you need him to text you the next day just to see how you're doing. Let him know that. Just some simple communication that doesn't leave you feeling like a jump off. It doesn't leave you feeling like you're just another girl on his list. And you know what I'm saying? Like, if they can't offer you that and that's what you need, then this may not be your person to have this moment with. You know what I'm saying? The perfect casual partner to me is someone who cares about you. they care about your feelings, and they understand that your physical relationship isn't grounds for an emotional relationship, like a relationship, you feel me? It's not the beginning of anything serious. It's just like, you respect me enough to not treat me like I ain't shit after we do this. That to me is the perfect casual experience. Let me tell you something, I'm still trying to figure it out. I ain't got all the rules. I don't got all the answers, and I don't make the rules. I'm just a girl out here living her life, trying to figure it out, and sharing what I know along the way. Protect yourself, maintain your space, you know, be clear about your boundaries, speak up. Your voice is important. Your voice matters for you in your life. You get to choose who's in your space, who's in your life, who's in your body. Make sure that you take heed to that. Make sure that you are the one who is, you know what I'm saying? Be buck about yours, because it's you. And don't let anybody have you questioning who you are to your core. You know what I'm saying? If that's how you feel after that situation, then it didn't give you what you was really looking for. Yeah, this video is all over the place, but maybe somebody's gonna feel it. I don't know. Bye, girl. Good luck.